All right. Hey, anybody tuning in? I'm going to do some live development today. I have to do some maintenance on the PHPStan Drupal extension that I maintain. If you aren't familiar with this module, it was used in a lot of the Drupal 8 to Drupal 9 upgrade process. It was leveraged in the upgrade status module to basically check deprecations in code, although I use PHPStan for more static code analysis. But it allows you to check projects that have usage of deprecated code. And I haven't had much time to maintain it in a while, so I'm going to go through some of that right here. And the next goal is to also then triage drupal-check, which is another is a command line tool that was built to wrap around PHPStan. Because initially configuring PHPStan required writing a neon file, which is like a YAML file, to configure it. And the idea here was to wrap some of that to make it easier for folks and just have a one-stop deprecation tool check. But this also has a failing head, so does PHPStan Drupal. So it's going to take some time to go through that, and also wanted to use it as a chance for an Ask Me Anything if anybody had questions. All right, so I'm going to get started on this and pull up PHPStan Drupal. And okay, I'm already on a different branch. So it looks like I already have a local branch for this feature include for Eirik. I feel like I'm always going to butcher his name. He pushed some updates, so I'm going to do a get. Actually, I'll let PHPStorm do this. Whoops. Sorry, apparently I hit something that switched it over to the starting soon. Sorry about that. Okay. So if that did cut out, I'm going to switch over to the main branch. And start trying to figure out why my tests are failing. So we will go to Travis CI rather, because Travis CI is running on a cron. So this failed at some point in time. Okay, so PHPStan updated, and I have a linting error. So I'm going to make a new branch real quick. Actually, I'm not going to just make a new branch. I'll open the task. It says head is failing. So I don't know if anybody else watching has used PHPStorm's tasks, but it allows you to fetch issues from a remote server. I'm not going to show that configuration form because it would show you my GitHub token. But I'm able to pull the issues from GitHub and then create a working environment in a change list. And like here, if you're using Jira, which I've used it for, it allows you to change the transition state to like what you're working on. So I'm going to open this change list. See, I have this branch. First things first is to run composer install, or rather composer update, and make sure I've got everything up to date. No, there we go. And if anybody does have questions, I've got the chat open. But thanks for tuning in. Okay, so while that's running, let's see what other errors there are. So inspection, and a whole bunch of other errors. Reflection. Okay, so PHPStan received some updates, and that's part of it. The other part is that this tests Drupal, but it's not, okay, it is restricting to Drupal 8. Great. So it runs tests against Drupal 8 for checking deprecations, and I thought that was one of the errors. So it looks like there's something weird going on, and I can't easily tell why this is failing from the output. So we will have to do it locally. So I'll run vendor bin PHPStan and target source. It's been a while. Let me just copy the command from here. All right, now I'm going to see why this is broken. 2 errors found. So if we go to plugin, manager, inspection, rule, line 109, it's saying strict comparison between string and parser node name will always evaluate to true. So it's saying that this is node name. So if we do toString, let's just make sure here. So it says that PHP parser, this is node name, node name. So if we get toString, it will get first, get last is qualified toString. We'll implode all the parts to there. Okay. So this right here does a check if constructor class is not equal to fully qualified name toString. Okay, so this checks the class name here. So basically it was saying that this namespace name from the class reflection was returning a name object and not actually a string. So PHPStan helped me find a bug. Now we'll run this again, and now we have no errors because I was doing a comparison against a string property to a fully qualified name node. Do the police know? I have Justin's giving me some smack for using the light theme. I have actually moved to light themes for all my IDEs, including Visual Studio Code. I actually like this because now it actually matches the Centauro colors with the light theme. With dark themes, I was using them and it hurt my eyes. And I found out I was doing better with light colored themes. And funnily enough, when I did Golang or Java, I used light editors, but PHP I used dark. So I just finally went to dark or to light themes for all of the above. All right, so we're gonna do a commit here. My terminal's still dark though, because I haven't changed everything. I'm gonna say fix. What was the error here? Just copy that. Comparison. All right, so that's one fix. Now I'm going to run PHP unit, and we're going to see the disaster that comes out because it looks like everything is broken. And this is probably because PHPStan has had several releases, and I haven't been able to keep up with them. So one of the nice things about the library is it's constantly developed and constantly being improved upon. But if you're writing an extension, especially one that does a lot of absurd things to integrate with Drupal, it causes some headaches because it's a very fragile integration. Because PHPStan works on the idea that all of your namespacing and files can be sourced via composer.json, and Drupal doesn't work that way. Drupal will use composer.json, but then also use its database state to know what modules are installed and do auto loading from there. And PHPStan provides some of the magic bridge for that to work. And just while the tests are running, I'll quick go through what that looks like. So like when this extension runs, it registers with the container and it finds the Drupal root and gets the core service provider and loops through all of the discoverable modules and adds the namespaces, and that way PHPStan is able to auto load them and do inspections. So that's really the magic of this module, is ensuring that when PHPStan does static analysis of Drupal code, it's fake executing it like it would in a normal scenario. All right, so we've got some test errors. I'm gonna go here. So this does a do Drupal bootstrap, and we're getting an error. Make sure this doesn't go off the screen. So why has it got this assert equals autoload files? Okay. Oh, well, that's why. So all the tests ensure that the this autoloader file that's required for Drupal to run is there, and there is now another file that PHPStan is adding. So PHPStan var stubs runtime. I'm just curious what this is. One nice thing about PHPStorm is when there is a var, which is an archive of PHP code, you can actually expand and look into it, unlike VS Code, which just shows it. So that is definitely nifty. So what was it? Union stub? Runtime reflection union type. Okay, I'm guessing that this is okay. It's support for PHP 8. So all of the tests are breaking because this is asserting the autoloader. So instead of assert equals, we're going to do assert contains. So assert equals was making sure that it matched the same value, but we don't care what other autoloaders there are. All we care about is that it's including our autoloader. So I'm going to check for where else this is used because my tests aren't exactly clean, and I have some duplicate code here and there. So we'll do assert contains. We're going to run everything again, and hopefully we get back some green tests. So we'll go back to the repo, and I'm going to pop a pull request. Actually, fix failing head, and edit. Nope, not copy. We're going to edit the description and say fixes 127. So GitHub does have it where if you put the word fixes in a commit or in a pull request description and that pull request is merged, that it will close the issue automatically for you. Okay. All right, we still have failing tests. Failed asserting that the array contains, well, that's not what I want. It had it. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to run xdebug and just see what we're getting here. So there's ways to run. You can run PHP unit with xdebug on the command line. I like doing it in PHPStorm because it was just a right click and click debug. And when you have xdebug enabled, it will just work. So in here we have autoload files. And we have this and that. And this is arguing that it wasn't set. Failed asserting that array contains users. Alright. So to just debug, I want something that shows up at the bottom of the list. I'm going to run the debug once more because it looked like it was in there. And so it's probably just some funky comparison that's happening here, which is the story of my life half the time. Okay, so I see what I did here that's wrong. I'm silly. So I kept it wrapped in an array, which of course it didn't contain the array. It contained the string value. So we'll go here. So this is one reason that I highly suggest everybody gets familiar with xdebug, is that was a really simple, small thing that I made the mistake of doing. And I could have stared at that for probably 15 minutes, but because of xdebug, I was able to see the state, go like, oh, yep, I was asserting that I had an array inside of here. So now we should see this work. So the needle is the fully qualified file name. So we're just going to quick just see evaluates. True. Okay, success is true. We'll just let that continue running. Close all these. And boom, we have a passing test. Great. Let's go run everything again. So we'll run PHP unit again. And hopefully the tests are green, and this was a really easy maintenance fix. Definitely need to add support for Drupal 9, which test case is not a file in the far. Some errors. So I'm just going to open a meta issue, add test and support for Drupal 9. Okay, we have some failures, but if I want to double check my tests, so I do run on Travis CI and Circle CI. I run on Circle CI because it lets me have more job types, and it's a little bit easier to manage. I know Travis CI has added some stuff for workflows, but I haven't taken time to learn it yet. Okay, so we test 8.x.dev. We test on Travis CI. And I believe I'm more verbose in Circle CI. So in here I have different commands. So create project, and this defaults to 8.8. And Circle CI defaults to... And what I'm able to actually do with this create Drupal project command in here is I run it later to test the legacy project. Legacy project. Oh, I thought I was testing Lightning in here. I guess not. But I can use that. We can use the create project command in Circle CI to test against Drupal 9 compatibility for static analysis and deprecated code. Cool. Alright, so add that for myself. Don't want to close that. We still have failing tests. So we'll go to here. Oh, again, I forgot to fix this assert because again, I am bad and I have duplicate setup code between two test bases that I have never taken the time to fix. And I might do that now. So bootstrap test, analyzer test. How are these similar? Let's split and move right. So it looks like it's this entire tidbit. So this doesn't get the analyzer. Oh, this is just inside bootstrap test. So what I should do, what's going on in here? I want to see what I can do. So this just builds the container. And this test only runs this code. I'll fix it later. I don't want to deal with it right now. Alright, let's check the passing tests. In Bootstrap, the deprecation rules are passing. Great. I'm going to go ahead and just double check these changes. Yep. Want to commit all that. Fix assertion for checking autoloader file. All right. So let's do a commit and push. We'll push that. Great. So now this is all running. And hopefully we will have everything passing green. Let's see. I'm going to check out the branch, the build, this and that. We got the jobs running. One thing I do need to make a note of is if we test. Oh, gotta log in. Alright, I'm gonna reopen all of those now that I logged in. Is that if we want to so Drupal 9 only runs on PHP 7.3 with the current tests. What is running right now? Travis CI runs in a matrix of 7, 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, test 7.1, 7.2. 7.3, and I'm not sure if I should even be testing those anymore. At least 7.1. I figure that might even be PHP version end of life. Let's just see supported versions. You think I would know this, but I do not. Okay, 7.1 is end of life. Should add 7.4 testing. Circle CI tests are using not a matrix. They are using PHP 7.2 for all the tests. They're all using 7.2, bump to 7.3. All right, so I'm just going to bump those to 7.3 when it comes time. This build. Okay, we got this running. This ran against the module. So I have it running where it creates the legacy project. So the difference with Drupal, the legacy project is pre-composer template. So this ensures that if you have a non-composer build that it still runs and can analyze the file. Whereas this one does the build off the recommended project, which if we did the caret 8.8, it should have installed 8.9.2. Perfect. So now it's going to add PHPStan Drupal locally via a, it'll copy it from the local package. So that way we can test the development on it. And just this normal build runs the test against PHP unit itself, which this is what we have hopefully fixed. What we got going on here? How far are these? Okay, no PHPStan errors, and it looks like our test will be green. So while we have to wait for this, I'm going to get ahead and start triaging the queue a little bit and see what we've got going on all over the place. I try to label things, but it's weird in GitHub. I don't like GitHub's issue management at all. This is a composer-based install on Drupal 9. So maybe I should make I'll make a D9 label that I can put these things onto. I'll help uncover bugs like this for Drupal 9. And I'll label this Drupal 9 as well. And what we should do, I don't know how you manage your labels. Labels, there we go. This should be more appropriately the color, a Drupal color. There we go. All right, we got the blue green check mark. Great, this all passed. So that means hopefully these builds are going. We just need to wait for the. I wish Travis CI could detect redundant builds. Like when you make a branch in a pull request from yourself, it still runs the branch test and the pull request branch or test. Like I don't need you to run both. I just need you to run one against the commit. Travis CI just runs against the commit, not necessarily differentiating between the branch and the pull request. Again, why I like Circle CI way more than Travis CI. But I will give a shout out to Travis CI because they were the first that really help open source projects get continuous integration set up. So they are a long-term favorite in that regard. Okay, Blazy, this is known to have a bunch of errors. It's just before it used to break the site or break the build. So this just checks that it didn't cause a fatal error while inspecting Blazy. That job finished. Oh, it's taking forever. Done, exited was 0. Boom. We like green. I'm not even going to bother waiting for that last test. So we are going to merge this. Great. Okay. So I'm going to go back to triaging some of these issues while the builds go. Let's see. Interface. For here, when I bumped into in a project. So it's running with drupal-check. Drupal-check wrapper. Class. An interesting fact that if I move this interface from the white list, does not fail but complains about. Oh. Well then, let's go. Something had to change here. So I'm going to label this as it's an auto loading issue and a Drupal WTF because something happened and a bug. So this could be a problem because they're running through drupal-check, but I think there's something more to it. So this is still here. And what version of Drupal is currently here? It doesn't say, but it's old. Check out master. Let's pull. So one thing I need to check for this is the required dev. Drupal core recommended. Let's bump this to 8.9. We're going to bump this to 10. We're going to run composer update again. So I have it installing Drupal into the test fixtures. So that way I can actually bootstrap Drupal and the PHP unit tests. And it's a very minimal setup. Composer, show, Drupal, core. Okay, what version does it say it has? 8.9.2. But it's saying that this interface does not exist. Just to double check, we're going to pop over to the core repo and to branch to version. Okay, they're in the 8.8. Go to modules, config translation, source, form element interface. Form element. So it's there. I'm not sure why it's not running. Okay, this looks like there's a bigger problem with everything that's going on here. Test functional access. Drupal module. I wonder if they can share this code. But it was on line 47. If class reflection implements interface. So it's saying that it can't check if it implements the interface because this doesn't actually exist. Can you provide code samples that help reproduce? Oh, samples. Samples that help reproduce. I'm not sure why it cannot find that interface. It is still in the code base. But as needs details, so I can't figure it out. Consider ignoring certain messages. I remember I started to triage this. So function has no return type hint, has no value type, has parameter, no type hint. So I think I'm going to label this as a won't fix. So what this is saying is that hooks aren't returning, basically don't have the return values or type hints in the parameter. There was no example here, so I'm going to just ping, can you also post an example of the code, just so we can document. It's not about coding standards, but the return, but the actual code in the parameters and return type. So what I believe this is talking about, I don't know if any of these module here, so if it was function contain not initialized form alter, it's the fact that it didn't, and you had just form and form state. Well, I guess we could do form state interface. So it's complaining that this doesn't say array and that this doesn't say void, I think is what it comes down to. So I'm going to put this as a, I'm going to say needs details and postponed. I think this is a won't fix, works as designed until example code provided to show it's not about PHP doc. Alright. It's there. Deprecated hooks not flagged. Oh. Okay, deprecated hooks doesn't appear to be flagging up usage of deprecated hooks. Specific implementation of hook search API results alter. So I'm going to see what's going on there. I quick triage this. So Drupal has a way to deprecate hooks and run them through a invoke deprecated. Through a deprecated execution. I want to see if I can find it right here. Hooks, query, alter. Where does it invoke this hook? I guess we'll check here and here. Okay, so that's what happened. The hook was removed and moved to an event. So we would need to somehow check if the module handler runs an alter deprecated. And there's almost no way to know this, to know that this is being executed. Maybe there's a way that we could have PHPStan listen for the alter deprecated call, and we can know what the description is, and then match to see if any function is there. I think this is just too hard to do in static analysis because it's way too dynamic. So this is one that would have to fall back on the upgrade status module that I brought up, because upgrade status actually executes with Drupal fully bootstrapped. This is a Drupal WTF, and I'm going to put some notes in there for myself later when I come back to this. Notes to explain the problem. Oh, it did some stuff for me. Okay, so the problem is that hooks do not get deprecated in a normal fashion as other methods or classes. You pass a string to the alter deprecated method, and that triggers the deprecation. there isn't an easy way to check if the hook is implemented and bubble up the flag. But I'm kind of curious now if we can. So if we check alter, what was it called? Alter deprecated. So what we might be able to do is create a PHPStan rule that checks for this function to be called and flags it as a deprecation. So let's try it. All right, I'm gonna give it a shot real quick. We're gonna open a task and go to deprecated hooks not flagged. And of course it reset my workspace because I forgot it creates change lists, and that's why I stopped using the tasks in PHPStorm. Alright, so we're going to try to create a new rule, and we'll use some test-driven development in PHP unit to figure out how we can get this to run. So let's find a deprecated hook that is called in Drupal core. Base method via the hail module. Well then, I guess Drupal core wouldn't really have much for deprecated hooks. At least not in this version because it was all cleaned up. Well, shoot. I'm not sure how we could. Oh, okay. Simple test is here. So simple test is still in core and is deprecated. So let's see if we can get the hook to run. Alter deprecated, hook simple test alter. Okay, great. We will create a new test module called deprecated hooks info.yaml. Make it info.yaml because the autoloader looks for all of these things to be able to determine what needs to be autoloaded or not. And actually, instead of making a new module, I'm just going to put it in this PHPStan fixtures. So we're going to do function PHPStan fixtures. Simple test alter. It's a no operation because we just want to trigger this hook alter, which is this hook simple test alter. Not for kicks. I'm going to put a breakpoint there. And now we're going to write a test and see what we can start doing. So if I go to test, we will do deprecation rules test. I wonder if we could do this here. Yes, we can. Great. So I don't need to, we can expand this. So this test data just searches, it just analyzes various files and then reports back the expected error messages. So we're going to add another test sample. So we went to test fixtures, Drupal modules, PHPStan fixtures, the fixtures.module. Wait, is this already being tested though? Not there. And not there. Okay. So I don't know what we're going to expect here. We're going to say 1 and just give it blank error message so we can test that and run it real quick. And while that's going, we know we have a deprecated hook being invoked. We now want to create a file, alter hook deprecated rule. I'll just say hook deprecated. And seriously, writing deprecated, just that's one word that I don't think I'll ever be able to just write and get it without second guessing myself 5,000 times. So we use that namespace, class hook deprecated extends rule, PHPStan rules. That's implements. Whoops. Implements rule. Add method stubs. So we'll get the node type. So we don't want constant fetch. We want to check when a method is invoked. So that would be class method. Okay, so we want to run on a class method call. I think that's it. Let's just double class method. What? PHP node statement. Okay, so we're in the same way. There's no docs, but it's whenever a class method is called. And again, we're going to try to listen for the alter deprecated method call and see if we can, from that, if we can find any calls to those hooks. Which I just realized in this test, if condition is always false, blah, 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 blah. This test won't actually do anything because we need to actually run it on test discovery. But let's see if that doesn't even run alter deprecated. So this is going to cause a hot mess of issues to be raised. But the hope is that this will test the test discovery class, and it is going to run the alter, and we'll be able to then content that will then be able to listen to the alter deprecation call be made and then get the hook name and see if anything implements that hook name. So it would be quite the experiment that we're about to make. So we're there. Perfect. Let's rerun dataset 3 because we're going to get all kinds of errors, I bet. Oh, fatal must be compatible with. Okay, this is broken. PHP parser node and scope must be compatible with blah, 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 analyzer scope. Let's see what errors we get back, because I'm sure there's going to be tons in that class, such as the fact that it's triggering an error off the bat for being deprecated. So whenever I need to do an xdebug breakpoint, a lot of times I do stop equals null, because you can't breakpoint on non-code. So just do that. Two strings are equal. Well, what now? That was a random error, and I wonder if we're not going to be able to test this class. Oh, shoot, because it's... No. I wonder if it's because it's messing with the class loader internally. Let's see, what else is... Something else has got to be calling this code. Okay. Two strings are equal. Invalid value class loader to class loader. Unexpected token class loader. What in the world? Oh, so it's just arguing that this has invalid value. Oh, because so PHPStan was just complaining that we don't actually specify that it doesn't have a class definition there. So that error is unrelated. So we will copy that in. So if I run it, we should have a green test because we haven't written our rule that says, hey, something is wrong. And while that runs, I'm going to wire up the new class or the new rule so that way it will get executed. So I'm going to copy the reference and we'll add it here. And so for those who haven't seen Neon files, this is a Neon file. It's just like YAML. It's used mostly in the .NET framework, and it allows you to do like some includes of files and a few other things, but it's basically YAML. Oh, I double copied in the returns. So we rerun the field. In our extension.yaml, we have hook deprecated run. For kicks, we can listen there on class method. And we're going to just start running a debug to see if we can check that the class being called, or the method being called is alter deprecated, and see if we can get the hook name from there and start triggering errors for deprecated hook calls, which right now currently requires the upgrade status module to run in a fully bootstrapped and like live Drupal site. All right, so that's running. This is the worst part, is it takes forever to run because it's basically analyzing a bunch of the bootstrapping Drupal and then analyzing the file on top of it, which hopefully that will get better once I get a new desktop computer that's got a little bit more power, because this iMac is pushing like 5 or 6 years now. Come on. All right. I'm just going to stop it so we know it's going, and we're going to run debug with it. So now with debug running, we should catch on one of these breakpoints. So that way we can test. For sure this should catch. If this doesn't, then something's wrong and didn't get wired up properly. While that's running, we'll go back. Oh, okay. Boom. Great. So that got registered. While we wait for this breakpoint to catch, just wanted to go back and make sure, good. Things are passing green. I don't need to tag a release quite yet because we didn't make any like feature changes. We just fixed the tests. So, okay, we have the node, which is the class method, the name is construct. So what we want to do is node get name. That says name could be, oh, it's all over the place. To string. We want to do like if name is not equal to alter deprecated. Believe we just return an empty array. Let's stop this and double check. Does not tell us what to do. String or rule error empty. There's no error, so we'll return an empty array. So let's run it again. And we should get stuck on this breakpoint. I'm just going to put it here to see what happens and make sure we cycle through everything, because I'm really good at typos. So whenever I make a logic like this, I always put my xdebug statement in there as well, just to make sure I didn't do like some small minuscule mistake and waste hours and hours of time, because I have done that before. So this is one. Oh, well, so that did not even catch. So we're going to do method name equals node name. Guess this is the problem too. So why? Time to look at some reference implementations because it's been a while since I've done this. So maybe, okay, so assert that node is instant of statement class. So maybe that's part of it too. So let's do, the autocomplete gets kind of weird because I forgot that this node class that's being returned from the PHP parser is an interface. So we don't actually have we don't actually know that node is instance of. So by doing this assert, it's telling Drupal, or not Drupal, PHP, that if this is not actually an instance of class method, there's like this should never happen, and throws an error. But with PHPStorm, it causes you to get a type hint, basically. So if you did node name, see, it now knows what is the name and identifier. So let's just do name equals node name. No, not that. I can't type today. Name. All right. Instead of just stopping there, let's rerun it. It went didn't catch. So hopefully we can get this to go through. We don't need this open anymore. We don't need that. And the only thing I could think of, no, we did get this to run before. Okay. So I don't know. Hopefully we will find out. Great. So name So name here was, again, construct get test classes. Oh, okay. So what I see is going on here is it inspected construct and get test classes. But what I really need it to do is, while in here, check to see if it called alt or deprecated. So I have this targeting the wrong way. It's on class method, it's calling in here. So I think I need to listen for a function call when it calls for here. If there's another stream my kids are doing. Hey Jeff, and hey Jeff's kids. Thanks for popping by. So I need to figure out what is the proper statement that I should use. Function. All right. Let's look at the rules. Calls methods rule. Method call. Oh, so actually I think that might be it. That's probably. So we want to look for a method call. Yeah, okay, method call. So this must be what we need, is inside of here, you know, we'll do that too. If that's what PHPStan is doing, why not have that as well, just for sanity's sake. Make sure I copy the namespace, since things are getting all kinds of confusing around here. That's one problem with the var too, is it will index it. So I'm going to exclude var from project. So when you exclude it, you can no longer view the files within it, but you will no longer get duplicate references, which now it's going to re-index. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, this is so riveting, I'm sure, for the kids digging through PHP language tokens. All right, so now that we have all this going on, and we're asserting that it's a method call, let's try this out and see if we get our hook, our debugger, to catch where we need it to go, and hopefully we're a step closer. So again, this is why Xdebug is great, because if we weren't using Xdebug and we were just running it, it would have been really hard to debug that. Oh, I don't need to listen for the node type of class method. I need to look for any method calls. So that should help you out in the long run, and it just makes it so much easier to dig into the internals instead of doing, you know, like a var export or print r and print to the line. Don't get me wrong, I do those too, but this is much easier. So we have the method call. The name is find all class files. Real quick, copy that and test discovery. Okay, so we're inside get test classes, and it now did find all test classes. Great. I think we're on the right step. So again, here, name is identifier. We can do toString return. So if it runs again, name add class map. Name get doc comment. I can just drop this breakpoint. Woohoo! There we go. we got alter deprecated here. So we know that we can hit here. So that's the note. So now we want to look at the scope. And inside PHPStan, the scope kind of just tells you everything that's going on. And my hope is that we'll be able to figure out what property is being passed, which could be hard, or what hook name is being passed. So here it's the type. It's the second parameter. So somewhere in here, we should be able to figure this out. So scope doesn't want to. All right. So scope get. Why is it not autocomplete in a single thing? That's why. So with PHPStan, the source is not shipped anymore. It's all bundled in the far. And that's to prevent, there's reasons, which is great, but at the same time, when you develop locally, you need to make sure that the far can be indexed. Okay, so we're back to being fixed here. One of the reasons, an example with PHPStan and Drupal was that when you had an old like when you created your Drupal site with Drush a long time ago, you got the PHP parser library at like version 2, but PHPStan required version 3. And when you inspected your Drupal site, it would load version 2 and crash. So by bundling everything in this far archive, it kind of namespaced it all into its own little segment and prevented a lot of those crashes. So I always forget that I can no longer exclude that. So inside the scope, we want to get function. Node. All right, let's look at some of this. So that's in function call. Blah, 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 blah. Inside the scope, get file, get trait reflection, get so we don't want to get to trait reflection. I guess we'll just have to do get function. Scope, get function, get all right, we'll try in there. I know in here, is it in here? No, scope. Plugin man. Okay, so I want to see. I know I do it in here somewhere. So this inspects the class and checks if it's a default plugin manager and tries to do some warnings about YAML plugin managers because they need to override the constructor. So this actually goes through the entire class statement and checks for the variables being passed in. So that does a reflection on the class. All right, I'm going to try debugging once more. I know there's the broker in PHPStan, which gets a reflection provider, has class, get class name, has function. So we will need that to check if there are any functions matching the hook name. But I just want to see how far we can get with this real quick, and then might just have to call it quits and push a pull request or an initial work in progress pull request. I don't know if this will necessarily be feasible. Ah, crud. I changed everything so it broke. So while this is going real quick, begin checking on alter deprecated for implemented hooks. Status get push origin PHPStan Drupal 126. And so the function reflection, oh geez, gave back a lot. Function like params. So this might just tell us variable attributes. So that just tells us what is in the function definition. We cannot determine the value that's being passed in real parameter types. I don't think we'll be able to determine that in here. Real parameter default values, real return type, throw type is deprecated variance. Again, the parameters, extension optional true to the string or null. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if we'll be able to pull on the called value. There should be a way to. But for now, I'm going to do, I pushed it and I'll actually use GitHub CLI for opening the pull request here. Create. So the GitHub CLI is actually pretty rad. So what do we want to name it? Flag deprecated hook usages as errors will be the title. Body will edit. This is going to fix. I got it in the branch name, number 126. Submit. Boom. So now you can actually see in here that I created the pull request for myself, and I'll have to just dig into that later. And default task. Okay. So that went from being like, let's just triage this use to going down a rabbit hole. But that's the entire thing with PHPStan and Drupal, is everything is a rabbit hole. So some functions are not recognized. This has an active pull request. Bug and auto loading. Support.inc. I'm going to say that. So Args has created an issue or created a fix that whenever PHPStan encounters a line of code that says include file using the Drupal module handler load include, it will go and load that file. PHPStan would natively do this if there's a require statement, but this isn't a require statement. So that fixes that. I'm going to close closing this for which we have a PR to load files whenever, what is it called? No. Whenever I link to a method, I always like to copy the full reference. Like namespace and all, because it's easier to then go find it. It's called. So that's an auto loading, and I'm going to say duplicate, because we're going to work on the other issue. So actually I want to work on this. But redeclared function error, video embed, previous, slick. Okay, maybe we can work on this one as well. So, all right, let's try to wrap up this pull request. This is actually one that I had opened when I first started the stream. So if we go get checkout feature, get pull. Okay, so we're all up to date. I want to rebase off of master. Push that upstream. Oh, I didn't want to push it to my, sorry. I wanted to push it to his. Okay, so we have this here. They don't have time to write tests. This worked. Okay, so we need to add a fixture which runs this code, and we can verify that it breaks. So again, let's bust out some test-driven development style. So we'll go to modules fixtures, function PHPStan fixtures module load includes test. This is a void. We'll even say it's an array because it returns an array. The reason why I made sure to say that it returns an array, because it should not only load this function, but determine that it says it returns an array and that the types are matched. So we'll create module handler equals Drupal module handler. So this is actually going to end up testing that we fetch the service properly and all this stuff works through. So we can go to our tests. And I'm just going to throw this in the Drupal integration test. Test auto loading, child and site extension report errors, site auto loading, service map. I'll just run it in here. So public function test module handler load includes void. So errors equal this run analyze on actually 1 second. Something else has to be checking this module file. Test extension reports error. Okay. So this test is already running on that file. So let's see what comes through. We should get an error that this function cannot be found. And from there, we'll be able to work on the rule. So we're load includes. Okay, so there was no error, which has this working. So real quick, just to verify the test load includes, we're going to comment this out and rerun the test So we had a green test. Now, removing the rule should give us a test failure. And that proves that, it's doing something. That's the whole point of test-driven development, is you write a failing test case. The test must fail. If they don't fail, then you need to figure out why this change didn't break your rules or what's actually going on. And also why I'm a big fan of test-driven development, because it makes life a lot easier. Perfect. So we got a failure. We assumed if that error, missing return rule, should return string, but return statement, great, that's expected. Function locale translation blah 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 is not found. So this rule is doing its job. It is helping us locate this file. Perfect. Now we need to figure out what was the remaining problems. I think it was like just I think I couldn't merge it because it was failing some tests. So we will, you know what? And I just realized that this is reading the variable, the name arg. This is reading the arguments. So I don't know why I was having so many issues before, because this is doing exactly what I need. So apparently in the arguments you can find the value, and there you go. So I can use this for the other pull request. I'm just going to get a little distracted and comment that for myself. Nope. Couldn't figure out how to get the values. Answer was in 28 all along. And I always bounce around like this so much because I have the short-term memory of a squirrel. So I would find that, and then 5 minutes later, I would forget that I knew that. So let's run some of these, our code quality tests. First we'll do PHPCS, great. All right, we'll do PHPStan, and I believe this is what was arguing. Okay, so 28. Where? So this is a string. So we'll run this again. Line 51. So node, so we assert that node is in here. So 51, we need to get it to not complain about the type, which means just doing a whole bunch of checks. So let's just debug. Debug that and see what var is an instance of, so that way it can be happy. Just curious. What's going on in there? So how did I do it? Oh, okay. So node is variable. Okay. So variable equals node there if variable not instance of variable, return blah, just like some safety checks. Variable, run that again, and now I kind of want to go back to my other pull request to see how I handled that name identifier check again. So we can just do that to try and clean it up. What does the try catch do? So it just does nothing. All right, we'll wait for this to run. All right, so we get the var name, module handler, and it steps through all that. Okay. I'm going to try to just simplify this a little bit real quick. So we know it's a node. If the node name is not instance of identifier, we return the method name. This is the method name. If the method name is not load include, we can do move that up. I'll do the same check here. If variable name is not instance of node identifier, return blah. So then var name is variable name to string. I think we can safely do that now. All right, let's rerun PHPStan. Line 53. Instance of between will always return to false. But that's the same thing. All right, well, I did something stupid. All right, just do that, and it makes it happy. But we can move all of this outside the try catch. I think the try catch is here just to prevent anything from crashing PHPStan while it's doing the analysis. So line 55. Again, instance of, why does it hate that so much? Okay, well, what is variable name? Working with PHPStan to solve all these things can be extremely tedious, but it does solve a lot of bugs. So like in here, it says like empty, we'll do if not is set. Access to undefined property, only booleans are allowed in negated boolean. So like here, we could actually just do that. Okay, so variable, what is name? Name is a string. Okay. So I have no idea if this would ever be it. It could be a string or an expression, which is is identifier and expression. It's node. So that's not correct. I want to see some other usages of this. That's going to come up with a whole bunch of stuff. All right. Let's see if that helped make PHPStan a little bit happier. Not 55 expression name. Jeez. So we'll just get back and find the right check. I actually have no idea what the other check would be because it's not showing up as a different class, but it says it could be an expression. So let's just see what abstract class expression could be. I guess a string. It'd be great if it was a little bit more specific. But that is how it goes sometimes. So we'll just say if varname instance of expression. Not abstract. We'll say that isn't that supposed to be a scalar? What? I don't know. Say value. There we go. We'll just go there. I just want to double check inside of PHPStan, since that's going to have a good source of record for anything that checks for that. So find in path string. So node value. Okay, so name node. We'll just do that. So line 57, only booleans are allowed to be negated. Should be, I don't think we have to worry about the name being empty. So parameter 1 and 59 expects a string expression or blah 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 given. So it actually should be like if varname, if not is string, varname, what we'll do is we're going to do throw new should not happen exception, expected string for variable, and we'll do so I have no idea when this would not be a string. So what I'm going to do is just say, like, if it's not a string and it throws an error, please open an issue on GitHub. So that way it can just be fixed. Because I don't know why it would be something else, and we can't really get that to be... can't figure it out. And that makes PHPStan happy. So type, scope, get variable type, interface. I have a feeling it's probably going to be a class. Figure that out. We don't need implements to be its own line. That can be inside the logic itself. So we'll clean that up. All right. So type is object type. Let's just do an assert. We'll do assert type instance of object type. I'm fine forcing it to be that way. We'll have this just go straight into here because nothing else uses that. Let's run PHPStan. 62. Oh, these templates. Argument 1, reflection class, constructor expects class string t of blah string given. Just why? Why? It's time to hit up DuckDuckGo. Okay, well, how do you fix this? Not all strings are valid class names. You can make sure with class exists or by type hinting. Okay, so we need to do if class exists, reflect, nope. If class exists, type get class name, throw new should not happen, could not find class for blah from reflection. Get called class. All right. Hopefully that fixes that. Great, it did. So it just wanted us to type hint that. Now it wants us to clean all this up. 75, 76, 78. 78 is just saying if da. Okay. Now what this is doing here is it's rescanning for all the modules. And what would be great is if we could somehow fetch that data from the autoloader, which we put here. So this already discovers all the modules in the system, this module data, but unfortunately, we can't push it into the container. So we have this weird workaround. We force it into the globals. It's not pretty, but it works. And I wonder if we can do the same for all the modules. Oh shoot, you know what? And I had a stash in there too that fixed some things, but that's okay. One thing I want to put here is somebody could technically have swapped it. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do get from type class name equals type get. Why? Oh, wrong spot. Right? Or did I do class exists? Hold on. I just completely... Ah, damn it. Because I meant to pop my stash. I meant to just inspect my stash, not pop it. So we do type get class name. Okay, there we go. I got sidetracked on myself trying to clean something up. So let's see. Okay, we're back to just getting these figured out. So let's do the debug and see what is inside the arguments and do some type hinting. And then once we get this solved, I'm going to merge it, tag a release, and then sign off and enjoy the day. And hopefully anybody watching enjoys the rest of their day or their evening, depending on your time zone. And we'll have a nice feature and good fix rolled out. It runs out of time for triaging drupal-check, but that's okay. The main thing is getting PHPStan fixed up, because PHPStan backs drupal-check and the upgrade status module, so that means people will have less bugs going on. Ow. Update not found. Whoa. How? What happened here? I broke it. Is it's now saying that none of this can be found? So I did something stupid. So let's debug. Actually stop that. So that's why it's always important to run your test often after a lot of changes, because I was just going in here willy-nilly fixing things and the test was broken. I broke the test somehow. So test-driven development, make small changes, test often, find out where you broke things. Hopefully we'll figure out where I broke it. It's probably somewhere in these type checks. So method name is get. Oh, we don't want to stop there because that's going to be a lot of them. It's like if doesn't exist, get class name. Well, that's silly. Oh, because it's an inner type. This is the class. Okay. Does this have the broker and? Oh man. So we want to do if or rather and interface exists type get class name. Because apparently it's object type, and if you do class exists, that's going to return empty. Traverse get class reflection is anything say it's instance of is super of get class name. Oh, all right. We're going to debug the test again now, because it returned the interface. Then we can okay. And basically then it checks that the reflection is an instance of itself. As if you recall, in our test fixture, it's getting it from module handler, and this says it returns the interface. So it's not type hinted against the concrete class, it's against the interface. So doing class exists caused it to break, and now we're back to normal. Okay. So node args. So we know that arg1 in load include is the module then type. So let's do, so module arg is, let's say arg0, we're going to say arg1, keep this to null. here is a series of arguments, and this had it going value, value, value. So let's go here. So module arg value equals blah. So if module, let's just do an assert. We'll just assert this module arg value instance of string. Same with the type. We'll say assert type arg value instance of string underscore scalar, and then it's like if that is not equal to null, we'll say, oh well, we'll do, yeah, so we'll say assert name arg value instance of string and if is set modules, we'll say module arg value value, return that. So this will fetch the module, and we'll say, actually what we'll do is we're going to say module name is module arg value value, and replace that here and here. And type arg, so type is, what is type? Oh, file type. So we'll just say type, let's say file name. Type file name, whatever. Type arg value value. And what's the third? There is no, oh, name. The base file name without type extension if omitted module is used, resulting in module.typename by default, which means that this is technically broken. Oh no, it's not. I broke it. I broke it because it has name arg equal. So you want to do name arg equals module arg. So that should work. Let's see if I broke the test by trying to get everything to be typed. Hopefully not. So it goes through, verifies that the modules list has everything in it, which we don't need to do that type hint because it knows modules is an array of extensions. And I broke something because I tried to be fancy. All right, let's go back through and debug. Well, that's happened. Let's just see if this is throwing any errors. Okay, 91. Oh, that's why. So, what is it called? It's called the name. Let's see, we'll say stop that. So module arg type name module name needs to stay there, but type file name We'll say type prefix equals name arg value and we're going to assert that name arg value is instance of string. It's probably a little bit hacky by doing all these asserts, but it's getting the job done. And hopefully, okay, 93. We change this to type prefix. But PHPStorm or PHPStan likes it. Let's see if the tests like it. I'll be happy with all the asserts, since it's kind of a mess dealing with all the dynamic values that you could encounter. And I don't feel like digging through PHPStan to see if there's any helpers for that. And actually, I think we should return those values. Okay, the test passed. I want to make sure we bubble up any errors that come with loading, because I have a feeling that this will be a big pain in some way or form. So if this passed, we need to do a negative test, because this verifies that the file can be loaded, but we don't have a test which verifies that it cannot be loaded. So all this work for error loading or error checking, need to make sure that doesn't go to waste. Okay, it passed. Whoop, whoop. So now, oh, this is doing a return. So let's do function PHPStan fixtures module load includes negative test. I'll just say void and load include. We'll say module is PHPStan fixtures type whatever. We'll just say that. Let's run the test. We should get an error that says the file cannot be loaded, and if that's the case, I'm going to push it, and I am happy with it. Let's get back to the test. Was it in here? Yeah. No. Wait. Here we go. File cannot be loaded. I don't like that error message. Is not very file blah. Should try to be descriptive enough. We'll say a file could not. So then we'll have to adjust this to be error equals array shift. Oh boy. Array shift errors. This assert equals okay, we should get then what's the file? Oh, poo. That might be a pain having to test. That full name. So I'm going to change this to assert string contains string, which is one of the most absurd method names. So we're going to assert that it contains this string. I don't think I need to have the double backslashes, but you never know. Probably. Yes, I do. All right, so we're going to run it one more time. Hopefully this should make the test green, and then I'm ready to commit and push it. And then we can get this to be fixed, which will fix some bug reports. So one way to work around it is the extension could just say, hey, autoload every single file in this directory. But I don't necessarily like doing that because you're not mimicking Drupal's bootstrap process. And that's one reason I am trying to make sure that this runs it as close to how Drupal would run it. So that way it's as close as possible. And you can find more realistic bugs. Why did this fail? Failed asserting that string size 3 matches count 2. Oh. Okay, so we have 3 errors. And then we'll make sure that this goes through. So that's the end goal for this, is that when it analyzes your Drupal code for static analysis or deprecations, it's executing it and loading files just like Drupal would, instead of just everything at once. So we can get this to go. Oh, come on now. Argument 2, pass 2. Object given. Oh, error get message. Dang it. All right. One more time. And I'm going to review everything to prepare for the commit. Yep. Let's do. There we go. Load includes. Was that line 81? No. Okay. I hate when I push code and I forget to run PHPCS, and then it's like, oh, I gotta do another commit just to be able to finish this. All right. So that looks good. Tests. Yep, our fixtures. And then the actual test. Perfect. So look, we are green. So I'm going to this get, or I'm right here. This, what do we do? Add tests, fix PHPStan errors. That's good enough. Let's do a commit and push. Okay, so this is building. Deprecated hooks is going to be way too hard to do. That. So I want to go back to here real quick. That's not going to happen. Ignore. Some functions are not recognized. Working on that. Redeclared function error. So this is one issue we have. Whenever tests do like if function does not exist, it runs an error, and we have a workaround actually for the Blazy module, and I'll explain this as well, and I'm going to give this a big Drupal WTF. So modules are loaded in alphabetical order. So in here, we actually have to put Blazy at the bottom because Blazy will define a function before the actual module is loaded. So for instance here, video embed media starts with V, slick starts with S. So the slick module and its test are loaded before the actual module is loaded. Now one way to fix this might be to sort is if we could have this scan modules and put all the test modules at the end of it all. That might be something we could try to do. I actually didn't think about that before. So it goes, it searches in here for all the modules. But maybe one solution is, instead of a strict check here, we could do a string position check for just test. So if it's not false, bump it down. And that way any test which checks for if a function is defined or not should run after any of those other modules are called. So I'm going to actually put that here. Here's an idea. We could push all test modules to the bottom of the module array so they don't cause a conflict. All right. Oh, why'd this fail? The build failed on Circle CI. But why? Code above always terminates. Didn't we just... Oh, for crying out loud. Oh. Alright. Let's figure out what happened here. Load includes line 103. Oh. Unreachable statement. That's why. I'm sure some people will watch this and yell at me for not having pre-commit hooks. And I am now beginning to feel like I need to have that set up. Fix or remove unreachable statement. Get push. Well, that's a bummer. But that will go through there. And while we wait for it, I'm going to try out this test as well. So we have a test for Blazy. So if I run this, we should be able to just push it and have and know if it works or not. Okay, so yeah, so if underscore test is in the module name, bump it down 10. Otherwise, don't sort it. So let's do new branch for let's try wait. All test modules higher. Let's push. And do pure create. There. Body, we want to say fixes 2-3. Submit. One thing we should do where's somewhere I include we test Blazy. Is that in here? Okay, so I'm actually going to copy this and you to slick test.module. So we'll just do the same thing. So we need to get, right, so it should be this module. Oh, that's not it. Oh, video embed field. So we need Drupal video embed field and slick, which I'm guessing is just here. Perfect. All right, replace Blazy. We will analyze slick. Yes, when scanning the custom module folder. Yeah, I think that should still cause the error. So we will get diff add test for scanning slick. Now I should have first wrote the Travis CI adjustment and then push to verify it failed. That's bad on me, but we'll just give this a shot and see if they can reproduce, or if it doesn't cause the Blazy thing to regress, I might just merge it and then have them test the next release. All right, so what do we got going on here? Pull request remains. Wrong link. I really miss when the Travis CI build like linked you to Travis CI instead of the whatever that is, the like landing page inside GitHub. All right, so that's still going, and that is still going. So hopefully this will end soon. And this one can wait. I think this is a good fix that could land today and do a release, and then I can follow up with the rest another day. Let's go here. I want to thank anybody that stuck around the entire time. Hope you found something interesting and learned maybe something new. Yeah. Check out the main branch again in preparation for this to merge. Oh man, just come on, hurry up. I am so impatient. Okay, so it's running onto here. I'm doing that Blazy check I brought up. Blah. It's found errors, but did not exit with exit code 255. Boom. So that's one down. Well, that's two down. I just gotta wait for this, and then I'm just gonna merge it. Everything's passing. I doubt it's gonna break on 7.3. So go the whole thank you for this. Get the celebration. Merge. So now did this get closed? Yes, it did. Added a commit that referenced this issue. Merge pull request 128. Great. So that got closed up. Let's do a pull. Oh, I have no idea what the next tag is. So. All right. So let's do get tag 5. Push origin 5. Now the worst part is I don't know what I all did between here and there. So let's try to, right, write that up. So I did get this package Untitled, which helps do some security monitoring. And I guess it was just purely oh, I didn't even notice this. He added something into the extension discovery to make it static. Okay, that's good. And I fixed, oh, that's right, there's two different things in here. I guess the main fix was adds a rule that fixes loading modules via module handler interface, which are normally skipped as Stan only handles failing. Alright, small release. Publish it. Get the tweeters out. New Drupal release includes a great fix by Arg that handles modular handler load includes, right? Load include should fix function not found errors. Fix some random when using PHPStan directly, not upgrade status. So that's one thing too. You wouldn't have hit this with upgrade status, because upgrade status has the whole site bootstrapped. So, all right. So there's that. I just want to check on this. So I don't feel comfortable just merging this without more investigation to make sure. All right, that's still running. Well, that's all I got for today. So thanks for tuning in. This is my first time doing like a live coding or anything like that. So hope it went well. Thanks for tuning in while we got this feature landed and some tests fixed. So hope you have a good one.